Okay, today in Sensors IA 221, we are going to take a look at an application and we are going to pretend that we're going to buy a limit switch. So let's describe the situation. The situation is a giant cart on tracks. And I've got a giant motor and control system that drives this cart back and forth between a area where we load on sheets of steel, and then the cart drives that sheet of steel underneath a plasma cutting tool, and that plasma cutting tool then cuts out parts according to design in that sheet of steel. Now, the sheet of steel needs to be stopped at pretty accurate location, and but it's a very rough environment. There is plasma cutting, which means there's sparks flying everywhere. There's dirt and grime. And the previous engineer threw in a regular old limit switch, which dies pretty consistently within 3 months every time you install a new one. So your job is to choose a sensor, a limit switch that will handle when the cart reaches the end of its travel. That limit switch will hit the nice flat edge of the cart and will tell the system that the cart is stopped and is ready for the plasma cutter. So let's go share our screen and let's go take a look at this application. Now, I haven't checked. This is going to be a little bit of a fun job because I haven't checked to see if McMaster-Carr has a really appropriate limit switch for this application. And if we find that they don't, we might have to go to a different website. So let's first of all do what you always do, which is type in what you're looking for, limit switches. Okay. And immediately we start to see a lesson on limit switches. On the left side, you can see the actuators, all the things that turn on or off that limit switch listed. So we can immediately select among our actuators. Now, in our current application, I have a side mount application. I need to mount this on the side of a piece of steel that's going upright. And that side mount needs to point out towards the cart. And I need for that cart to turn it on or off. That gives me a broad range of potential actuators. I could use a plunger. I can use a roller lever. I can use a roller plunger. All these things will probably work. I probably don't want a wobble stick because it's coming in from the side, but I got a range of things that could work. Also on the left here, I got switching voltages. So I could choose what my voltage is that I will switch. And notice that I can have a range of different switches. Some can handle up to 600 volts AC. So that's a lot of voltage. I also have terminal types, and I've got the environment. So this is probably where I want to start. All right. I've got an environment here that is going to be dusty and corrosive and hazardous, might be oily as well. It could be all of these things. So let's start off by limiting our number of switches down to a dusty environment first, and then we'll try hazardous second. Okay. And if we click on the dusty environment, we are limited to a variety of limit switches. I see an ultra precision. Is my cart, giant steel cart, need to be ultra precision? No. But I do see sealed limit switches. That's useful. I also see low profile wet location. I probably don't need it to be low profile, and it's definitely not a wet location. A lot of these seem to be wet location. But down here at the bottom, I see something called a hazardous location limit switch. Use these switches where the ignitable dust and gas may be present. So this can be used in what they call an explosion environment. It's kind of an explosion proof within these classifications, NEC classifications. Cool. We also have other ones that can be used. An enclosed washdown snap acting. And then they give me the proximity switch options. So they're saying, well, maybe you want a proximity switch. A proximity switch has no moving parts. We're going to get to proximity switches in a minute. But I could also choose a proximity. But for the sake of this argument, I don't want to get into proc switches. So we're going to stay in the limit switch range. So let's go back and choose all of these things. So we're going to do corrosive, hazardous, oily, all those things. Do any of these really pop out? None of them really pop out. But as an expert in limit switches, I look over and I look at this one, enclosed washdown snapbacking switch. What do I see about this that I like right away? Number one, it's got a conduit hookup in it, right? Some limit switches have hookups that are just terminals. You wire into it with a terminal, like this snapbacking switch on the left and this switch right here. But this switch right here has a conduit connection. Looks like a 1/2-inch conduit. So I like the look of that. These other ones might work as well. So we need to make a decision. So let's assume I need screw terminals, right? And now it's already selected this style for me. So this is a sealed actuator, so I can decide which one of these is the right style. That cart sometimes wobbles, and if I just have a straight plunger and the cart's wobbling, it could snap off that straight plunger. So I might want to have a roller plunger that will allow that cart to move a little side to side, and it'll still work properly. It'll still plunge down on that limit switch. So I like the look of that. B and G for both that style. B is the roller plunger actuator style. Let's click on that one. And let's go to the details, and let's take a look at the details on this switch. All right. It's got a conduit connection on one end. Its actuator height is about 1.33 inches. So it's going to actuate within 1 inch. So that's, it's a big cart, so 1 inch is probably fine. It's zinc. Its environment it's rated for is corrosive, oily, submersible, damp, and dusty. So this is a really good general purpose device designed for a range of environments. Made in South Korea. I don't know if that's good or bad. Made in South Korea. Rapid closing action snap. All right, so this looks like a good limit switch. Number one, it meets our environmental requirements. Number two, it's very sturdy in design. Number three, it's got a plunger, so if a big metal cart is moving up against it, even if it's wobbling a little bit, that plunger will plunge and the roller will allow that wobble to occur without snapping off the plunger. And it can be mounted pretty easily. And if we look at the diagram right here, we can see we've got 4 5M thread, 5mm thread mounting points on this. This is very similar to the switches that we saw that we have in the lab. So that's very interesting. So that's an example of a limit switch. Number one, we need to make sure the limit switch can handle the environment we're in. Number two, we want to make sure that the limit switch has an actuator that will work with our system. And number three, we want to make sure that it's not too expensive and will meet the needs of our requirements. So I didn't check on the price of this. So this is a $50 limit switch, which is a little pricey, but considering it can handle those heavy-duty environments, not bad. So just for instance, I'm going to take you to one of the other sites that I like very much. Automation Direct. Let's go to Automation Direct. Let's look at their limit switches. Now, Automation Direct site has been getting better and better and better. And notice how much the Automation Direct site now kind of looks like the McMaster car site, right? But they're not quite as good. They don't give you those lovely pictures on the left for selecting the actuators type. Instead, it's more like an electronics catalog where you look at different brand names and input points and sort of generic features that they could pull out of the data sheets. Nothing so lovely as little pictures. They should give you automation. They give you the actuator types, but they don't tell you what they look like. If you look on the bottom left there. But let's take a look at the limit switches they're offering, see if we can find one similar. They give you plunger actuator, 163. Then they give you limit switches with roller plus plunger right here at the top. Or they give you the rotating style with a lever and a little roller at the end of the rotating lever. So let's go into the plunger with roller because that's what we purchased before. Yeah, the selection criteria are not nearly as good. But let's just go into the top one selected and see what it says in terms of its environmental capability. Doesn't tell me. Doesn't tell me at all. But it's only 32 bucks. So it's 20 bucks cheaper than the than that limit switch that we found on McMaster. We're not sure that it's rated for the category. This one's made in Italy. That's interesting. Italian-made sensor. And this is why I generally don't like using McMaster car for buying. I'm sorry. I generally like using MasterCard for learning about things, but I often end up in Automation Direct when I buy them. But they do have a little video here on selecting the right limit switch for your application. I should probably...
Switches for object detection are incredibly versatile. You can get them with all kinds of doodads, rollers, springs, wands, arms, plungers, etc.
So that's pretty funny.
Etc. And
I'm probably going to make a link to this from my website. All right. Anyway, let's stop the recording.